When you think of Quentin Tarantino and you think of films that go under the radar for him, it's got to be Jackie Brown. And if you have not seen Jackie Brown, you are missing the most underrated film by Quentin Tarantino, bar none. When you think of great adventure films, you have got to put the Goonies in there. I mean, when you think of great adventure, you have to understand that the Goonies is one of those that is so enthralling and thrilling, and it's based around a freaking pirate map. For me personally, I think that the Oscar race for Best Picture this year is going to come down to two films. You have La La Land and you have Manchester by the Sea. You have two completely different films. You're either gonna cry your eyes out or you're gonna laugh your way to the Oscar. Welcome everybody to My Life in Movies. Scott Icebox Nemi coming at you from the Real Frame of Mind Studios, or also known as the Movie Room. We're here surrounded by the glorious, films and memorabilia that the movies have brought us. Got a lot to get to today. It's going to be a lot to fit in 30 minutes, so we'll try our best. Hope you like the intro. As you can hear, I have a little bit of a cold, and that brings us to our first segment, which is Back to Reality. Now, if you haven't listened to the first episode of this podcast, what we're doing is I'm just taking you back to reality, outside the world of movies, and here it is. Look, the bug, the bug that's running around lately is sort of a cold bug. It's not terrible. I can deal with it. It's the stuffiness, okay? And I had this cold that started like it felt in the back of my throat like I was getting a sore throat. But in reality, it sounded like I just yelled too much, right? And that's part of my job. I have to talk constantly. So in that, I was like, okay, I'm not even getting sick. I think it's just, my throat is just worn. But I was wrong, okay? And then it started hitting me. And for some reason, Fridays are killers for me. All right? Fridays are killers. Because for some reason, I always seem to get ill on Fridays. And I don't have much going on Fridays, but just enough to make it hard to get through. So anyways, that's Back to Reality. Have a cold, and let me talk about irony, or maybe a matter of ill timing, a statement. And it was last Tuesday when I had said to a group of mine, yeah, I think I get sick once or twice a year, and I think I had a case of food poisoning early in the year, so I'm good. No wood to knock on, right? So I'm pretty much dead in the water, and what happens a couple days later? I get freaking sick. So I don't know if that's just bad timing, if it's just irony trying to kick you in the ass, but yeah, that's my Back to Reality. So we got a lot to get to today. I watched quite a few movies, not so much outside the realm of maybe. I don't know, maybe Harry Potter, but it is. This is my week in movies. So going back to it, watched a lot of Harry Potter. All right, I just got the Blu-ray collection, and I've been putting down just about one a day almost. Sometimes I have to carry it over; it gets too late, whatever. But I think I reviewed. I can't remember if I just reviewed one or two of them. Well, let's just go back over. Okay, so I believe I gave Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone a B. Going back to it and checking out Chamber of Secrets, for some reason I didn't like it as much. But I have to sort of stay in that same vein of the first one. And I will give Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets I'll give it a B. But here's how this grading scale will break down. So I'm going old school grades in like middle school, high school kind of thing. So I think like a B minus is an 82 to an 83, and I'll say an 84 to an 86. I'm sorry, B minus is 82, 83. B is, I'm going to say 84 to about 86. And then 87 to 89, I'll give it B plus. So I'm going to give it a B as well. Now, I have an issue. It's because I didn't read the books, I think. But why is it that Hogwarts is surrounded by such brilliant people, and every single time something goes wrong, it's always the Defense Against the Dark Arts professor that's doing everything? Okay, it was Moody, it was Remus, it was what's that guy's name? The guy in the first one, and then the guy in the second one. The guy in the second one was the one who was the famous guy who was just he was really a chicken shit. So why is it that all these clowns get hired at Hogwarts and none of these brilliant people can understand that, okay, this is probably not going to work out? Maybe we should just give it to Snape. And it's just something I don't understand. And it kind of gets repetitive. I don't read the books. I haven't read the books. So I get confused sometimes. Like the character of Greyback, I don't get him. Like, is he a follower of Voldemort, or is he just like, I mean, is he the equivalent to like a bounty hunter? No allegiance anywhere, but he will help him if he needs it, because Bellatrix seems to know him in I believe it's Order of the Phoenix, and he's there when they're doing the stuff with the two wardrobes, and then Bellatrix in, I think it's half, or no, not half. It's Deathly Hallows Part 1, where they're in Malfoy Manor, where all of a sudden now she's choking him and these other guys that are I can't remember, snatchers or something like that. Um, which, like, okay, Bellatrix, don't you know him? Don't you know that he's on your side? Like, I didn't understand that, and that's sort of the issue I have with these movies as a whole. So if I didn't rate Chamber of Secrets, I will now. I'm giving it a B, the same as what I gave Sorcerer's Stone. But I'm gonna grade it a little bit lower. I think Sorcerer's Stone for me was a little bit more of like an 85. I'm gonna give Chamber of Secrets a little bit of like an 84. And then as they get on and they go further and further, it gets darker and darker, which I absolutely love. To me, that is what satisfies me more. Is the older they get, the darker it gets. And just to make sure that I'm on the right track here, I'm whipping it out. Uh, so then we move to the Prisoner of Azkaban, which is probably one of my favorite ones. I believe this one's directed by Alfonso Cuarón, and I think he does a great job with this, and I absolutely love this film. And if I love the character of Remus, and the way they foreshadow stuff in this, to me, is a little bit better than what they do in the other ones. Like, you're always going to Hogwarts, you're picking up in the summer, going to Hogwarts, something bad happens, it revolves around Harry. Like, it seems to me that somebody should catch on to what's going on. But Prisoner of Azkaban, I think, kind of throws you for a loop a little bit. And that's what I like about it, because there is a little bit more of the whodunit, or, the misleadingness, and then all of a sudden, then you get, oh, he's back, or no, it's, Wormtail is actually the rat, Scabbers. So, I really enjoyed, Prisoner of Azkaban, one of my favorites. Cuarón did do it. Then moving to Goblet of Fire. Now, Goblet of Fire was one of my favorites growing up, and this is before I became a little bit more enlightened with film. So this one it was fun going back to it, because, like I said, this was my favorite as a younger child. But anyways, going back to Prisoner of Azkaban, I'm gonna give Azkaban a B plus. I actually really, really enjoyed that movie. It's one of my favorites, like I said. And then we go to Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Mike Newell directed it. I don't know if you know of the other things that he's done, but I think it's a really sound directing, and I love how dark this one gets, in comparison to the other ones. Like Donnie Brasco, he did, and then he did garbage like Prince of Persia. Um, I don't really know any of the other ones. Yeah, I don't know. He might have done another Harry Potter, but uh, yeah, I mean, this one is was my favorite for a long time, and I loved the games. It was like the Olympics of of the Wizarding world, which I thought was really really unique, and I thought it was really cool that that you had to put your name into this goblet of fire, and they mess with dragons and underwater stuff, and what I love about the Wizarding world is that nothing seems too egregious. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna put your best friends down underwater, and it seemed like Fleur thought that she was never gonna get her sister back. So like dangers can happen, and then they all seem so oblivious to it. But it's like, at some point, maybe you should, you know, get rid of some of this shit that can hurt people. Because why is it in Quidditch every time they play Quidditch, someone's like bewitching one of the brooms or something like that? Like, give me a break. Like, you're not. Why are you trying to kill these kids? That's the stuff that kind of bugs me, and I understand you have to suspend disbelief a bit when you're watching these kinds of films, but I love the way it goes through this movie. It's more of a um, that dark tone, and then all of a sudden you get the resurgence of Voldemort and all of that stuff, and I thought the ending was excellent. um, you know Cedric Diggory, but I will say this is pretty funny. um, I like when they're going to do the last challenge, the maze, and Cedric Diggory gets called out, but who comes stomping out and marching out first? This is but his old man. His old man's like doing some dances and stuff. It's like, what are you doing? Why are you leading Cedric out there? Like, go in the stands, guy. But I really enjoyed. I think the water scenes are my favorite part in that movie because it's so cool to see how they all change to stay underwater, which is really really fun. So, Harry Potter Goblet of Fire, I'm gonna give a B plus as well. Then we go to five, Order of the Phoenix. Um, you know, I just feel like we start getting a little bit more repetition and everything like this, but Order of the Phoenix is good, and the only thing is what I take down in this, I downgrade this one for, is I only remember only a few key moments. There's nothing in the movie that makes me want to go back and watch it all the way through because of the build up to what's happening. And with that said, I will tell you my favorite parts is that's when, obviously, when they're training, I enjoy that. Um, I really enjoy just basically the whole showdown at the Ministry is always fun, and then obviously Bellatrix, killing off Sirius Black, which is kind of heartbreaking. It's funny when you have a stuffy nose and you can't get your nose to run. It's when you're trying to not worry about your nose. That's when it starts running like Niagara Falls. And let me tell you, I've had to pause this podcast like 3 times already just so I could blow my snot nose. And it's like, but if I'm just sitting out there, there's nothing going on. It's just like it's stuck. There's no snot getting out of my nose. And all of a sudden I come in here, I'm recording, I'm focusing on something else, and all of a sudden it's like, oh god, I gotta blow my nose again. It's ridiculous. Anyways, back to Harry Potter. The one thing I will say, well, I mean, there's probably like 12 things I've said so far, but I will add that Harry Potter, to me, the films, it doesn't do, personally, I feel that it doesn't do a good enough job in the big moments where you're supposed to feel heartache or stuff like that. It just doesn't. For everything that has died, um, and you're going through a bunch of death and all of that, and people leaving and coming and going. The biggest emotional trip for me throughout the Harry Potter series was when Dobber dies, that little house elf. And maybe it's because he's just cute, and you don't want to see a little cute creature get killed. But um, Dobby held the biggest weight out of all of them. And you see, spoiler alert coming up, if you haven't seen the movies or read the books, turn this off. You see Snape die, Dumbledore die, Harry dies and then comes back. You hear about uh, Aragog dies, Cedric Diggory dies. There's so much weight bearing, deaths that just don't hit for me. Whether it's the acting that didn't get it done for me, or the directing. Either way, I feel like it doesn't carry as much weight as it should. So Harry Potter and Lord of Phoenix, I wait the movie for the battle at the Ministry, and that's pretty much it. So Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, for me, is going to drop back down to that B. And I know I sound like a broken record saying B this, B that, B plus, but these films did not get over that cusp for me. Save maybe one film. So now we go to Harry Potter and the Half Blood Prince, and I'm gonna get through this quick because I'm gonna try to group the last couple just together. Um, Half Blood Prince, and this is another thing that I will gripe about in these movies is that you have these big reveals and they don't hit home. Like the big reveal in Prisoner of Azkaban still hits home because I still feel like that was such a big shock. And I go back and I'm still like, oh man, I can't believe that's happening. You thought he was such a bad guy and now he's not, and everything like that. But when Snape turns to Harry and just says, "That's right, I'm the Half Blood Prince," it's like, okay, Yates, you couldn't give me a little bit more emotion than that. And you have Alan Rickman, who is a phenomenal actor. How do you not get something better than just, "Yes, I'm the Half Blood Prince"? Oh God, Jesus, I sounded like Bane there. But I don't know. I didn't feel it with Half Blood Prince. I thought there was again good moments in there. David Yates directs it again. There are redeeming qualities to this film. The cinematography is nice. All these movies are nice to look at, save the first two, maybe. But excuse me. Yeah, Harry Potter and the Half Blood Prince will give we'll give it another let's give it another B. That leads me to Deathly Hallows Part One, which I think drags at times. It really does when they're going through, and we're talking about a 2.5 hour movie. It drags because there's not much going on that's happening or anything like that. So to me this one kind of dropped down, and it was gonna be um probably again in that B minus the B range, and I'll give it a B and an 84. But just not one of my favorites. It didn't do it for me because there was so much dull time that you're just sitting there like, come on, just get to it. So the action scenes were good like normal, and which leads me to Deathly Hallows Part Two. Now, Deathly Hallows Part Two, I'm going to say this in the beginning, was one of my. I didn't understand why everyone liked it so much. It's one of the highest rated ones. I watched it my last year in college, and I felt like this film did not do it for me at all. So I watch it again, and I'm starting to understand the weight of it, and I'm getting more into it. And I enjoyed the hell out of watching Deathly Hallows Part 2. And I'm going to go back to the reason why I didn't give Deathly Hallows Part 1 a B minus is because I think the build up to Deathly Hallows Part 2 would not be nearly as worth the wait if Deathly Hallows Part 1 wasn't what it was. So let me just rephrase that because that was kind of confusing. Deathly Hallows Part 2 is what it is because of what Deathly Hallows Part 1 is. Without Deathly Hallows Part 1, which I still feel they could have done better, without that, I don't think Part 2 hits home the way it does. And I had the same feelings as I did for, the movie that I only went back and liked only a few scenes. I think it was Order of the Phoenix, where I only went back for that last scene in the ministry. And I felt like this was the same, but all of a sudden now I'm starting to think more of like, oh, I love the bank scene, Gringotts. I love when Harry's talking with Ollivander and the gremlin or the goblin, and I love the battle sequences. I love when they make the when they have to go and try to find the Horcruxes. I love the scenes with Snape and Voldemort. Like, all of those scenes are great and I really enjoy it. And so I went back and I'm going to give this one, just because of how I feel right now, I'm probably going to give it I'm going to give it my highest rating, and I'm going to go with an A minus. And this A minus is at about a 90, so just teetering on the edge of that B plus to A minus range. And to wrap up all the Harry Potter stuff, I'm just going to say that you love to get attached to these characters, and the first thing I did after I watched this was looked up spoiler notes for The Cursed Child. So I wanted more, but it doesn't even touch nearly what Lord of the Rings does for me, or even Star Wars. So with that said, I think Harry Potter is a great saga. I think it's a really fun. It's really fun movies to get invested into. They're gorgeous to look at. They are just beautifully done, and you get to see the progression of the kids, from 1 through 8, and that is great and everything. They just lack some things, and I think maybe if I read the books, I would appreciate it a little bit more. But just little things here and there that I just didn't understand. There were some nice touches with the Dutch tilts, what I thought were used at the right times. There was dolly zoom that Hitchcock would be pretty happy with. So there are some really good filmmaking attributes to these films that make them good, but there's none of them that to me are absolutely great. And even the one that I rated the highest, I could probably easily knock it down to a B plus and be happy with what I had. But that was Harry Potter. Now I went to a couple documentaries. Netflix documentary was a couple of them. I watched Sneakerheads, about collecting sneakers. Really fun. They paired it up with some. I thought it was a well put together documentary, talking about people who collect sneakers and are really into it. Sometimes getting overboard on how much they pay, how many shoes they have. But Sneakerheads, I'll give it a B minus. I thought it was fun, but I have a lot of shoes, but they're not like collector shoes or Jordans or anything like that. So it was cool to look at the designs and everything. They paired it up with some nice hip hop music. They had good guests on there talking about sneakers. But for me, it was just it had my attention, but it was kind of more of like, it's dinner time. Let's throw something on in the background that I don't have to fully pay attention to. But Sneakerheads is a B minus for me. Check it out if you have the time. If you're really into Jordans and different kind of collector sneakers, go check it out. It is on Netflix. Another one I watched on Netflix, which I'm actually going to give a really great score to, and just a little disclaimer: I love animal documentaries. I love watching, go in depth, old school Animal Planet style. kind of stuff. And I watched a Lion in Your Living Room, which was a documentary. It was like 50 minutes long, 50, not 15. But that movie was, to me, what I thought was really excellent. It was, or not a movie, a documentary. Um, it's great. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot. I own a cat, my first cat I've ever owned. Um, and it was a really eye-opening experience. You know, a lot of the things that my cat does is highlighted in the documentary. So I thought it was a really great time. It's a quick watch, and it's very very informative, and it's really fun. I implore anybody with cats or who are interested in cats to go check it out. It is really it's really a fun time. So that was Lion in the Living Room. I'm gonna give that an A minus. That is also on Netflix. Um, what else did I watch? Wow. Um, I watched, boy, what did I watch? Oh, of course. Went to the theaters and watched La La Land. Now, La La Land is one of those movies that is making a big push for Best Picture in my mind. Um, Hands down, I think it's the best directed film of the year. It's so difficult. I said in an interview earlier that it's extremely difficult to direct a musical. It's even more difficult to direct a successful musical, a musical that doesn't just ride. Um, you know, it doesn't put all its eggs in just the basket of the songs. And the songs are great. Don't get me wrong, but without that chemistry of Gosling and Emma Stone, I don't think it goes anywhere. And it's such a strong story. If you took out all that music and maybe just used it as score or source music and not them singing, I still think it works out great. And I love the story, and the ending is phenomenal. It is such a good ending. There was no other way they could tie this ending up, and it is giving Manchester by the Sea a run for its money for my number one film of the year. Um, just unbelievable. I have not stopped thinking about it since then. The unfortunate thing is that I haven't stopped thinking about Manchester by the Sea since I watched that probably a month ago. So I'm getting there. Bear with me, guys. I'm getting through these 2016 movies before it's all said and done. So, um, La La Land, I have to give an A to. It is a really really good film. Um, just phenomenal. I mean, like, if you don't know what good directing is, or direction, watch this movie. Understand that all of this choreography and you know directing has to go just about perfect, near perfect, for it to move the way it does, and it's a good time. That was La La Land, wasn't it? We're going to De Palma. I watched another documentary, De Palma. De Palma is one of those films that if you're a filmmaker or aspiring filmmaker, or you really love De Palma's films, or even just are interested in the way film works, um, watch this. If you have no cares in the world and you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to pop on a documentary, don't watch De Palma. De Palma for me was kind of disappointing. It's paced so slow. I think he's very charismatic, and I loved when he would get himself laughing. That was great, but there was something lacking in the documentary, which was unfortunate. And I had to kind of come to terms with that. I really wish I could have enjoyed it a little bit more, but I'm gonna give it a B. De Palma. Watch it if you, like I said, if you're a fan of De Palma films, then watch it. And that's what kept me into it, was that I was a fan of, Carrie and Blowout, um, Casualties of War, all those great De Palma films. So check it out if you are interested in that. That's B. That is on Amazon Prime, I think. So, um, let's see here. I don't think I reviewed Hell or High Water yet. And if I did, well, sorry, you're getting another dose of it. But um, Hell or High Water. It's just, I think it's a film that I would really, really love. And I watched it for a second time not too long ago. And I wasn't disappointed, but there's something missing. There's one piece lacking. And obviously, Ben Foster is amazing. Um, there's no doubt about it. He can act. And I love Jeff Bridges. Um, I just Hell or High Water is like, it's such a present day western. It has so it has so much so many great themes. I feel like obviously it's banks robbing people and taking advantage of people. It's the old west kind of nature of things. Kind of that bank robbery. It's the loss of that old west feeling too. I feel like um, Chris Pine, I thought, did a really great job as well. Sorry to sneeze there. Yeah, I mean, there's so much going for Hell or High Water, and I think when we get to our none of their top ten films of 2016, I think we are going to have a battle with this one because it is. I think about it, but it's not that I think about it because I love it. It's I think about it in terms of what was it missing that it didn't hit me because I love westerns. I love Jeff Bridges. Chris Pine does a great job. Ben Foster is so good. But maybe their camaraderie, that brotherly love, doesn't hit home as well as it should. And, I think the directing in that case is sort of the blame. David Mackenzie did it. Uh, Written by Taylor Sheridan. Whoa. Who wrote Sicario, which I think Sicario packs a little bit more weight than this movie. But, yeah, something missing, and I'm still trying to put my finger on it, but liked it. It hurts me. It pains me so much because I really want to love this movie, but it pains me to say I liked it. I didn't love it, and that's unfortunate. And so I'm going to give. I'll give Hell or High Water. I think B plus is too high, so I'm gonna go B. I feel good about it, and I'm not afraid to regrade some films if they hit me a little bit later on. But that film, yeah, it's unfortunate. Uh, let's go to two picks. All right. So my two picks this week is going to be a flashback, a little bit of a flashback to early 2000s, and I'm going with Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. Now everybody is talking about the new Spider-Man coming out, Homecoming. It should be great. I think the new Spider-Man kid that they had in Civil War had a lot of spunk, and I think it's going to be a pretty damn good film. In terms of Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire did it for me. I love Kirsten Dunst. James Franco is hilarious, and the villain, Wisconsin's own Willem Dafoe, does a phenomenal job playing that split personality. I mean, it was a movie that was one of the original starters to that whole kick of superhero movies coming and coming strong. So Spider-Man is such for me. It is a fun film to watch. You better check that one out. That's Spider-Man, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. I enjoy it. I enjoy it quite a bit. The next one, talking about Ben Foster. Let's go 310 to Yuma is my other pick, my number two pick in my collection, and that movie is a remake. I enjoy it better than the first one. It does have this Hollywood sort of gloss to it. Uh, you can kind of tell, the sets and stuff. It's not really authentic, but Ben Foster is this guy. The first movie I've ever seen him in, and he blew me away. He did such a great job as Charlie Prince, and Russell Crowe does an amazing job, and Christian Bale. is solid in this, but just the story of the dad trying to be that sort of hero in his kids' lives, and him trying to prove to himself that he has enough courage to take on these people, and it is just it is a really fun film. So if you haven't seen 3:10 to Yuma or Spider-Man, those are my two picks of this week. So please be sure to check that out. Uh, like I said, really fun films. My LOTR moments, Lord of the Rings moments this week, and this is going to be an homage to one of my favorite scenes from my favorite Lord of the Rings movie, Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring. And let's break down. I mean, there's so many from this movie that I absolutely love, but let's attack the elephant in the room, and let's go with the death of Boromir. I think one of the most incredible sequences that I've seen in a big budget, big named sort of action adventure, and it is done and shot gloriously, edited to perfection, slow motion when it needs slow motion, and scored so well that anytime I replay this in my mind, it is shot for shot, edit for edit, score for score, just perfect in my head because I cannot get it out of my head. And I'm talking probably from the moment Boromir runs onto the scene to save the hobbits, Merry and Pippin. It is in your face action, and it you can tell it's done so well because you know what's going to happen. Um, but still, every time I watch it, it's like, please tell me he doesn't get those arrows in him. Please tell me he doesn't get those arrows in him. And every time it happens, and every time it's a glorious, glorious death. Um, so the time that Lurtz comes out of the hill, and Boromir is just, you know, going primal on all those Yuriks. I can't believe just the splendor of it all. And when he gets that first arrow in him and it slows down and you get this great reaction shot, and reaction shots make it so perfect from Merry and Pippin, and just the look on their faces of dismay, of shock, of terror. It's done so well. And, he just keeps fighting, and you have that music just playing in the background, and he's still going, gets another arrow. And when he drops to his knees, and you see that statue of some sort of elder king, or someone of great importance, sort of looking down on Boromir. It is just such a touching scene, and just the fight and the grit that he has to keep going. Getting those arrows in him, and then obviously Aragorn coming and saving the day. So momentous, and the way he just cuts his way through Lurtz, and then the final resting spot of Boromir, which is just so heartbreaking, because in the end, he redeemed himself, and that to me is it's so it pushes the film so well, because in the end, you had Boromir throughout the whole thing, kind of the odd guy, the man outside looking in, and when he comes and he faces his demons, and he gets through it all. I think that's such a great scene. My brother, my captain, my king, so good, so well scripted, so well delivered, and just tears rolling because Boromir has redeemed himself, and he fought bravely, just like Aragorn says, and it's great. So that was my Lord of the Rings moment there. Going back to it, we are going to go with reshoots, changing a scene or plot of a film, and maybe the outcome of it. For me, man, there's so many that I think I could go to, but they sort of range more towards, bad films, if you will. Okay, I don't feel like any of the really good films are hurt um, by the outcomes. But let's go Inception today. Okay, this is reshoots of Inception. Um, Now I'm gonna change the outcome of this because there's such a murkiness to this, and I know this is totally against my nature, how I feel about films because I absolutely love when there's an open ending where you can actually talk about it and gripe and argue with each other. But the top spinning at the end and everything, I want it to be a little bit more clear. Um, where he is. And I think a little bit more of a step in the right direction of saying that this indeed is still a dream, then I think we all can feel a little bit better because arguing that to people who don't want to see it as that is it's like beating your head on a chalkboard or a wall or something because they don't get it. So I'm changing Inception's outcome to a little bit more knowledge into what in the hell happens at the end. What in the hell does happen at the end? Please leave a comment in the comment section below. No interview this week, but let's go to a gripe session. Um, the gripe session today is it's going to be about properties that people love so much that they sort of blindly rate things. And this is obviously no shocker or no secret that what I'm referring to is Harry Potter. And I felt like these films could have been so much better. And I understand that they're even though I mean, they're 2.5 hours pretty much a piece, if not longer. And I get that for kids movies or children's movies you have to make it a little bit shorter. But I feel like there was a lot missing in those films, and anybody could just tell me, hey Scott, shut up. Why don't you go read the books and you'll be happy? And that's true. It really is true. Maybe I should just go read the books, but when it comes down to it, I don't feel like those films embodied everything that we needed to know. I think there was more to it. Where characters go missing for hours and we don't see them till the end of a movie or something like that. I really feel like there should be more to it than just this. And if they were to release, and you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, if they were to release like extended editions of the Harry Potter movies, I think I'd love them a lot more. I mean, I think a lot of the B ratings would be bumped up to a B plus and stuff like that. But Lord of the Rings was always a solid series for me, and I was scraping the top. I was barely scratching the top, and when I watched the extended editions, it brought so much more. Even though they're only adding a few minutes in a piece, but those scenes are pivotal and they're nice to have in there. I don't think I'll watch the theatrical versions ever again. So that's today's gripe session, and that's just a lot of these films that are established in a different form or a different medium, and they just don't give you enough of what you want. But yet we're so gung ho to rate them so high because of what the other property has done. Say the books have really hit home how you feel about the Harry Potter series, and the movies just add a little bit to it. But because you're so high on the books, that all of a sudden makes the movies so much better. So don't get me wrong, I love rating things on nostalgic factor. I do feel like that should be um, a prominent point when you're directing or when you're um, reviewing things. But I don't get lost in it all the time. Tom and Huck is one of the ones they go back to quite a bit, quite often, where I was watching it at a young age and over again, and it doesn't hit like it used to because of the fact that it's not that great of a film. Um, but nostalgic factor, I think, definitely is out there, and I think that's probably what helps the Harry Potter film series. So we're pushing 45 minutes here. Let's do one more here, and we're gonna do a new one we're gonna bypass Spotlight. Hopefully, I have a guest or an interview next week, but we're gonna bypass that, and we're gonna bypass Spotlight this week because there's so many people I want to do and just not enough time. So I'm gonna go Orchestra Pit, and that this is a new sequence or section that I'm doing, a segment, if you will, that's is all about movie scores. And we talked about the Lord of the Rings one earlier, but I could go back to Harry Potter and tell you about that. Um, but I'm gonna go a little different route, and I think I'm gonna go with Tears of the Sun. And for those of you who don't know Tears of the Sun, Tears of the Sun was directed by Antoine Fuqua, the director uh, of the new film Magnificent Seven. And I think this film is very underrated film in his filmography, and also in sort of wartime action movies. Um, but Hans Zimmer does an excellent job, and just like The Lion King, they actually have some full fledged African folk song singers come in, and they put together such a great soundtrack. And this movie score is so well done. It's I could listen to it over and over on repeat. It is very underrated. It's very buried down there. Um, but yeah, go listen to this score. Even just the ending scene is so uplifting. It is just paired perfectly. And the film obviously has flaws. I know it's more of that that action kind of Bruce Willis can do it all type thing. But seriously, go and check this movie out. Tears of the Sun. That is my orchestral pit for this week. This is it. I'm wrapping up episode 2 of my life in movies. Coming out next week is going to be I mean, a lot of things. A lot of things are going to happen. We got NFL playoff championship games coming up. Great wins by the Packers and the Steelers. Uh, I'm pulling for the Steelers. And the other that Packers Falcons game is going to be, I think, off the hook. I think it's going to be another exciting game there. But I think we're going to have an exciting Super Bowl either way. So um, congratulations to those teams. Check out our YouTube page, The Real Frame of Mind, REEL Frame of Mind. We need subscribers. We always need subscribers. Check out all of our content out there. We produce a lot of cool shows. So come check us out. Listen for our Oscar picks when that comes out. Listen for our top 10 of 2016, and check out more of our If You Ask Me reviews. I know we've been on a little bit of a hiatus. I've been sick. The other guys have been really busy. We've just shot a short film, so we were in the midst of editing that and getting that set up. So just bear with us, and be sure to check out all of our videos, like, subscribe, comment. Check us out on SoundCloud, The Real Frame of Mind, same. Facebook, Real Frame of Mind. Twitter, Real Frame of Mind. No, The Real Frame of Mind. So thank you guys all for listening, and be sure to remember that laughter is timeless, imagination has no age, and dreams are forever. Peace out.